So let's look at this example. So this is Ajax Semiconductor Company. It attempts to evaluate the profitability of adding another integrated circuit production line to its present operations. So there is a proposal. So how is the cash flow look like? The company would need to purchase 2 or more acres of land. So this is the cost for land. And the facility would cost 60 million. So that's another piece of cost at the beginning. That's for the facility. And have no net MV at the end of the 5 years. So for the facility, there is no MV, okay? But you need to understand for the land, you have the MV, you have the value left, okay? Because the land is the land, it's not depreciated. It's still there. So after 5 years, you still have 275,000 worthy land. That's kind of your MV, okay? And the facility could be depreciated using a GDS. So you're using GDS recovery period of 5 years. It's given. And increment of working capital would be required. So you need to hire some persons. And its estimated amount is 10 million. So this is a third piece of your in capital investment. So you have 3 parts of capital investment. And you want to also pay attention to this 10 million. This is also something you can use after 5 years. It still has that value. Okay, you hire that employees, and after 5 years, those persons they still can work. They still are, their skills are still valuable. So those so the 10 million plus the 275,000, this one and this one, this can be seen as the market value of your initial investment, okay? But this 60 million of facility, it doesn't have any market value. That's the tricky part of this situation. Okay, gross income is expected to increase by 30 million per year. So after this new equipment, you are gonna have 30 million additional every year. So that is, that is your gross income, okay? And operating expenses are estimated to be 8 million per year, okay? So the firm's effective income tax rate is 40%, okay? So this is all you know. And then you want to set up the table and determine the after-tax cash flow for this project. And after that, you want to use the after-tax cash flow to calculate if this is worthwhile, if this project is worthwhile or not, at the MARR as 12% per year. Okay, so here is the table you want to fill up. Or it's already filled up, but let's take a look at how do we come up with those numbers. Okay. So the first column, because your project have five years, so you're gonna have this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. There are 2 5s. One is for the cash flow, the other 5 is for the MV, okay? So this is for the MV. And the column A, it's before tax cash flow. Basically, it's just a copy of those numbers in the problem statement. So first, what is your capital investment? We said it has 3 parts. So the first part is 60 million for the facility, and because it's a investment, so it's negative. And then you need to hire a bunch of people. It's 10 million. It's also expense, so it's negative. And then you need to buy a piece of land, which is which costs 275,000. It's also an expense, so it's negative. Okay, so all of them, this is your initial capital investment. And then we said we don't need to fill up the first row, but we need to copy this number into the last row. So this is just the sum of these 3 numbers. Okay, and don't forget about the negative sign. And then every year you're gonna have what? It said you have 30 million gross income, but you have 8 million expenses. So what is your gross income? Your gross income for each year will be 30 million minus 8 million. That's how you get 22 million. That's your positive 22 million every year. Okay, so this 22 million, it comes from 30 million gross income minus the 8 million expenses for each year. Okay, because it happens to each year, so you're gonna repeat this 22 million for every year for 5 years. That's why we have 5 22 millions here. And in the very last row for the MV, why do we have a 10,275,000? Okay, this MV is from the piece of land and also the workforce. Okay, so the people you hire, you need 10 million. And then the piece of land you purchase at the beginning, it's worthy 275,000. So this amount of money, the value is still there. So, and they are valuable. So you can see it as type of market value. And because it's a market value, so it's positive. Okay. And so that's how we filled up the column A. And then column B is depreciation deduction for each year. So the way you get these numbers, okay, is that you check the table 7-3, okay, and then you find out the column for 5 years, and then you have the RK. So this is gonna be times R1, B times R2, and so on. Okay, so let me just check my textbook to see what is the RK for each year. Okay, so now I'm looking at the table 7-3. Imagine you are looking at that table as well. So for year 1, your R1 is 0.2. Wait a second, this is a... Yeah, so just use the table of 7-3, and then you have R1, R2, R3, R4, R5 to calculate this to calculate the depreciation deduction in the column B. And also those numbers should be positive. And then let's take a look at the column C. Okay, so column C is whatever you have in column A minus the number in column B. Okay, so this 10 million is the result of the number in column A, which is 22 million, minus the number in column B, which is 12 million, which is 10 million. and so on. Okay, and the last number in column C should be, based on this, should be MV minus BV. Okay, so MV is 10 million something, and the BV 5 is 6 million. So the 10 million. So because BV5 of the production facility is this number, and the net MV5 is 0, okay? Remember that the facility cannot be depreciated. So at the end of the 5 year, it is the MV of that is 0. So a loss on disposal would be taken at the end of year 5. So that is why you have this negative 6,112,000 in the end of the column C. And in the column D, the numbers should be the result of the tax rate 40%, or we can say it's 0.4 times whatever you have in column C, and also don't forget about the negative sign before that in front of the number. And then in the last column, all these numbers should be whatever you have in column A plus what you have in column D. Okay, so this method looks complicated, but whenever you understand the structure and how do you come up with every figure, actually it's not that difficult to fill up. And to answer the second question about if the project is a sound one or not, you need to use this column to calculate the PW, okay, if you're using the PW method, the present worth method, and to see if the present worth of all these cash flows is bigger than 0 or not.